When do you first encounter Vince McMahon, and when does the WWF first come onto your radar, Luke?
Okay, we're working for NWA out of Charlotte, and we're working with Rock and Roll Express, and then at television in Atlanta, at TBS Studios, we do an angle with Lex Luger and Barry Windham. The Towers, they were called the Twin Towers. And we do that angle. And of course, they put it in the can for 2 or 3 weeks down the line. So we finish off our run with Rock and Roll Express. In between that run, we get the phone call from Vince. Well, it's Pat Patterson. I call my home in Charlotte and to pick up my messages. Don't forget, no cell phones those days. This was 88. And there's a guy called Pat. He says, "G'day Kiwi, g'day Luke. Give me a call when you got time." And he left the number for me. So when I go to the phone box, I'm picking up my message. I took a pen and paper. So I wrote down the number. As soon as I go off the phone, Butch's, we were in the gym. And in Columbus, I always remember that, in Columbus, Ohio. And Butch is doing his drum. I never did my drum. You know what your drum is? Your belly.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And Butch always did 20 minutes on his drum. And I escaped that, and I'm picking up my messages. So I call this other number. And a voice answers. No, Pat answers. And then he says, "I got someone to talk to you." And I still don't know who Pat is. And he hands me, and the voice says, "G'day, Kiwi, this is Vince McMahon." Was I so glad to hear that voice? I've been sending tapes going right back to Betamax, which was in the early 80s.
Yep.
You know, went from Betamax, and then went to the CDs or whatever it is, and then I went to the whatever it was today at that time. The old Betamax was a 3/4-inch tape.
Yep.
And I'd be sending that to his dad, tapes of us to his dad. But his dad had big, when Dad was in, he always hired big guys, 250, 260 upwards.
Mm.
And here we are, 240, 230. There. So I said to Vince, he said, I'd like you guys to come in. And I said, when? He says, whenever you can. And I said, straight away, next Wednesday. We didn't have next Wednesday off, but I said next Wednesday, right? He says, when you get home, give me your address. When you get home, there'll be tickets on your doorstep. When I got home on Monday morning, there was tickets on my doorstep. I called the office up and it says, "Hey, our work permit's coming to an end. I got to go out of the country for a day because we had to go to Trinidad or Canada to get, because we were British subjects. We had to go to a British country, to the embassy, the New Zealand embassy, to get a work permit. We were on I think they were called A1s or A2s. Anyhow, so that was bullshit. Anyhow, we already had one. And so we went up to Vince. Yeah, we got met at the airport in New York. Limousine, straight up to Vince's office, waited outside his door. Next minute, they let us in. We sat on the other side of the desk. And Vince said, "I'd like to bring you in, but as baby faces." Yeah. And of course, I've been booking in the States for the last, I've been booking territories, you know what I mean? Writing the television and doing all the finishes and laying out the matches. And I said straight away, bring us in his heels and turn us. And Vince says, "Oh, I don't do things that way." I soon learned what Caesar says, Caesar gets. His nickname was Caesar.
Yep.
And Butch jumped up on his desk and put his face right up to Vince. Their nose was about a foot apart. Yeah, about a foot apart. And Butch says, if you can make these faces, baby faces, go for it. And Vince said, look at the heads on my top baby faces. Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. He said, they haven't got the prettiest of faces. And he was dead right.
Yeah.
Look at those three faces. Even Jake the Snake.
Yeah.
They were all rough faces, right?
They were. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that was it. He says, I'll bring you up to do vignettes for the next month. I'll fly you up every week. We'll do vignettes and we'll go from there and start. I think we did 3 or 4 vignettes every week. Now we had Raw, Monday Night Raw hadn't started. There was 10 of it on Saturday morning and Monday night, and I think Thursday night or Saturday night. Anyhow, there's 3 different things. And so we flew up every week. We did 3 or 4 vignettes, come back home. Meanwhile, he's paying us. He's paying us $1,000 a week, then in the 80s, for sitting at home, which we didn't mind. We were making much more in NWA, but we weren't making what we should have been making. You know, we should have been making $2,500 a week, and he kept us below $2,000 a week. The Crockett's kept us $1,800 a week, and we knew what the other guys were making. You know, the main events were making in NWA. They were making 25 to 35.
Right. Wow.
20 and that. And we knew the money in WWE. We knew the story was NWA, you were a wrestler. WWE, you were a celebrity.
Yep.
Because he had you in Sportsman of the Year dinners, toy conventions, all different kind of conventions, trying to draw different people from different ways of life to become wrestling fans.
Mm.
So we did these vignettes for 3 or 4 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. Then we started. Now every agent at the show wanted us to come to the ring a different way. One agent wanted us to come out of the top floor and come down with the steps. The other one come through the entrance, and that didn't work. One camera here, one camera there. We told them in the end we both got to come together. And then Butch come up, said, when we were heels, we used to throw our arm up to scare the people and scream, whoa, yay. And Butch said, okay, let's walk to the ring, swinging our arms and lifting our knees and doing the whoa and the yay. Hence, we started walking like that. Hence, the fans started walking like that. Hence, the Bushwhacker walk was in.
Amazing. And whose idea was it to do the licking gimmick? What about licking heads?
Butch. All of a sudden, Butch started that too. I'm not keen on that, but all the people were putting their heads down to get licked, so I'd put my hand over their head and lick the back of my hand. Butch would grab their head and slime up their face. Don't forget all these arenas, people are sweating and